What do Arsenal need to do in January to become Premier League champions? Arsenal going really well in the Premier League this season. We've seen some very exciting football, and tactically, Mikel Arteta is getting a tune out of a number of top quality individuals. But the big thing for them this season is Manchester City have Erling Haaland, who is absolutely wrecking the Premier League. If Arsenal strengthen slightly in January, they're easily guaranteed top four football, but they need to be ready in case Manchester City slip up to win their first Premier League since Arsene Wenger. We're going to go through three things they need to do to basically solidify their place as challengers to Manchester City and give them the ability to act if City slip up. The first thing they need to do, of course, is sign Edu up on a long-term deal. He joined the Gunners, of course, in 2019 and was there to appoint Mikel Arteta as manager. The big thing, I think, for Edu when we look at his transfers, started off a little bit suspect. Nicolas Pepe for 72 million. There's question marks going to that signing, but I think from that signing, going forward, did really, really well to bring the right players into Arsenal, but more importantly, get rid of one-to-way stars. His first window saw him bring in the likes of Nicolas Pepe, we mentioned before, but also players like Gabriel Martinelli for 6.39 million. You've got Kieran Tierney and, of course, William Saliba for 27 million, who looks like an absolute world beater. That first window, really, really good. Getting rid of the likes of David Ospina, Mkhitaryan, Koscielny, Carl Jenkinson, Alex Iwobi, all players that haven't really, didn't really kick on at Arsenal, needed to be moved on. The next window, I think, was an absolute success. Gabriel from Lille, Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid. Two big bits of business. Also letting go the likes of Martinez for a pretty decent fee, and Guendouzi. Moving forward to last season, Ben White signed from Brighton, who looks like a fantastic acquisition. Martin Odegaard from Real Madrid, Ramsdale from Sheffield United, Tomiyasu from Bologna, Lokonga from Anderlecht, and of course Nuno Tavares, who they got some good money from, letting go the likes of Joe Willock for nearly 30 million quid. Great business. And finally, probably the best window of the lot, Gabriel Jesus from Man City, Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, all quality additions, and of course letting go the likes of Bernd Leno, Lucas Torreira, Matteo Guendouzi on a full transfer to Marseille. So I think when you look at what he's done, it's been absolutely outstanding. And I think one of the interesting sides, when you look at the first 11 that Mikel Arteta selected at Arsenal, it really paints a picture of what Edu has done with the squad. We're looking at that starting 11, the likes of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Socrates, David Luiz, Bernd Leno, Lucas Torreira, Reece Nelson, Mesut Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Only really Bukayo Saka and Granit Xhaka still in that 11 from, of course, back in 2019. I think that's big credit to Edu and his work behind the scenes with transfers, building a top quality squad. You compare that 11 to, let's say, the first 11 of this Premier League season with Mikel Arteta as manager against Crystal Palace. You got the likes of Gabriel Jesus in there, Martinelli, Partey, Odegaard, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Ramsdale. It is great work. So Arsenal need to sign Edu up. And this is really important because maybe Arsenal don't become Premier League champions this season. Maybe they're not quite there in terms of their squad. But you're looking for the long term. Edu is the right guy to take them forward. Right, let's talk about players. It's really difficult to really criticise the squad that has been built. It's really hard to think about what to do next. You've got a real top quality number of defenders. You've got a really good midfield in there. And of course, the forward line has been very, very good this season in the Premier League. One thing that I would say about Arsenal, I think Mikel Arteta's plan B is very, very good. When Arsenal are looking to, chase a game, they tend to switch to a back three, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White. You have the two wing backs in Martinelli and Saka, throw on an extra centre forward, basically moving it to more of a kind of 3-4-1-2 formation to kind of chase games that arguably looks like a 3-2-1-4 with the attackers getting high in the final third. That is a very good plan B. But the one thing I'd say with the two strikers that Arsenal have got, Nketiah and Gabby Jesus, of course, when they play together, you do see Gabby maybe slightly deeper, Nketiah high. But when Arsenal are chasing games and throwing those crosses into the box like we see them do in that kind of match state, a target man could be a great option for Arsenal. And I think that's someone where they could add some depth in there. First and foremost, if we take a look at the Man City link for Mikel Arteta, one target man that they had a while ago in the Premier League was Edin Dzeko. Arsenal, for this target man, they don't want a player that wants to play every week. They need a player that's going to make an impact off the bench. And Edin Dzeko has been doing that for Inter Milan and Roma before them. You're talking last season in Serie A, 13 goals and, of course, 7 assists in 36 games. I think that is a good reference point off the bench in certain games, coming on and causing some problems. A goal every 138 minutes. I think the physicality there is really important. This season, 3 goals and an assist in 11 games. But you're looking at that target man. That's what we're looking for here. Aerial duels won 55%. Get the ball into the box and allow Edin Dzeko to attack it. Similar to his game against Sassuolo, won 2 out of his 6 aerial duels, scored himself a brace. But that link-up play and that ability to score goals in the penalty area, I think, could be really quality for Arsenal. And Edin Dzeko isn't going to cost a lot of money. I think if you're looking for an in-form option, right now, maybe for the future, if you're considering that a little bit more. Beto from Udinese is a striker really in form so far. In Serie A, 5 goals in 11 games, a goal every 96 minutes. So his goals per 90 are really, really good. He is a target man. He's a player that's going to be aggressive in and around the box. He's won 63% of his aerial duels, averaging at 2.9 per game in Serie A this season. Would add a different threat to Arsenal, but I just feel it wouldn't be quite right in terms of the age spread of the squad. I think you need a Zlatan Ibrahimovic type player. Zlatan took, Milan from nearly men to Serie A winners with his experience and quality. Beto would be a good option in the long term, but I don't think right now. And a big question for Arsenal fans: would you take Olivier Giroud back? I know that there's been some beef, the Europa League final with Olivier Giroud, mocking Arsenal, but then speaking recently in an interview about Arsenal and saying, "My Gunners, would you take him back at the football club?" Olivier Giroud could do a job in these moments, in Serie A, 4 goals in 10 games. Think about how active he is in that penalty area. That's all Arsenal need from this number 9, from this target man. It's not going to start every week. That's going to be Gabriel Jesus, but it's for when Arsenal need to beat deep low blocks, and they've tried to play through them, and they need to go for that direct option. That's what Arsenal need to become Premier League champions. Tactically, let's take a look at Edin Dzeko. I think that's probably the best option for Arteta. In terms of how much he'd cost and what he could bring to the squad. I think that ability to play in the penalty area with teammates around him, really, really important. Not only would it be, the likes of Dzeko in there, but Gabriel Jesus in there, Martinelli committing when the ball's on the left-hand side, and of course Odegaard offering that late option. I think that extra height and ability to win the ball for flick-ons, for direct shots at goal, really, really important for Arsenal when, they need that plan B, and I think that's got to come. I think the other sort of slight issue with Arsenal's squad is a replacement for Granit Xhaka. Who would have thought I would have said that line a few years ago, because it looked like he was kind of on his way out of the club. And of course, Fabio Vieira could come in and play a role instead of Granit Xhaka in certain games. I think that's a really decent ball-playing option. But I feel like there's got to be kind of more of a direct option in terms of what Granit Xhaka brings to Arsenal. This season he's been playing this kind of, attacking role. He's been getting into the penalty area, arguably a target in the penalty area, but also a target into his feet. So I don't think Fabio Vieira is quite that type of player, that goal-scoring midfielder. I think Vieira is more of a direct replacement to Martin Odegaard. So I think you've got to look around Europe and try and find the name that can fulfill that role, someone that could receive in between the lines, someone that's creative, someone that can score, someone that can get on the end of moves. So a few options that, you could look at to maybe play this position. I think first and foremost, Conga's been used a little bit in that role, especially in pre-season. Shown some promise, but not been a massive threat in the Europa League. So I'd probably go back to the drawing board with that to find that Granit Xhaka replacement. I think the obvious one that's kind of, been screaming to so many Premier League clubs to go out and finally buy him. He's been on the radar for so long. Is Sergej Milinkovic-Savic would be so perfect for Arsenal in that position. He is the best goal-scoring threat from central midfield in Europe. 22 goal involvements last season in Serie A. One of his best campaigns, 11 goals, 11 assists, which is pretty incredible for a player that's kind of plays in midfield for Maurizio Sarri's side, central midfield, but gets into the penalty area and causes that threat from deep. This season so far, directly involved in 10 goals already in 11 games. And what I like about this season is variation of his assists. Assists coming from crossing positions, assists coming from flicks, from back heels, from him getting into the penalty area in and around Ciro Immobile, and also kind of through balls from number 10. The variation is absolutely fantastic, and I think would be so perfect for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. I think in the long term would come in to replace Xhaka, but would be a good option off the bench. You think as well, from a target man perspective we spoke about recently, even playing him as a number 9 next to Gabby Jesus if Arsenal are chasing the game. If Arsenal only have 50 million quid to spend in January, fully commit to Sergio Milinkovic-Savic, you have a target man in there, but also you've got a long-term box-to-box midfield replacement for, of course, Granit Xhaka. I think that would be the number one guy that I'd go with. Other options, if you want to go niche football, hipster players, Branko van der Boomen is a player that's come onto my radar. 27-year-old Dutchman, 190 centimetres, got a bit of height. We take a look at his Ligue 2 performances last season for Toulouse, 12 goals and 21 assists. A lot of quality, passes from deep, through balls, crosses, set pieces. This guy is really, really, really good on his sort of the way to becoming a top-level footballer. This season in Liga, 1 goal and, of course, 4 assists so far, but really played some good performances. 2 assists in the game versus Montpellier, 6 chances created, but maybe a little bit different to Xhaka, maybe more involved in the build-up, when Xhaka was playing more as a left half than the higher Xhaka right now, but I think could be long-term, be absolutely fantastic. If you want the instant kind of Granit Xhaka like for like from Liga, of course Seiko Fofana is that guy, still is that guy. Seiko's been sensational for Lens this season against Marseille, man of the match, 93% pass accuracy, 3 chances created, 1 big chance, 2 shots, both on target, 2 out of his 3 tackles, 1 easy to get in there. And if Arsenal wanted to go to Serie A, to get themselves another box-to-box goal-scoring midfielder, Davide Fratesi from Sassuolo, 4 goals in 11 Serie A games so far this season. He's a player that attacks space well, and I think that's a massive part of this box-to-box role. He gets into Atalanta's forward line really, really well. We're talking the sort of front 3 positions in their shape. He'll frequently see himself in the inside right or inside left position, getting on the end of crosses and through balls. So again, I think there's a lot of options for Arsenal in European football, but I think the big one, if there was one player for them to bring in that would really change things, it would be Sergio Milinkovic-Savic. And not only could he be used in this kind of advanced role that Granit Xhaka plays, but when Arsenal are kind of chasing games and they need to throw another target man on, he could play that role for them, and Arsenal would still retain that kind of midfield shape and that midfield ability of Granit Xhaka, but having a target in the box for knockdowns. There's been so many times this season we've seen Milinkovic-Savic be a threat, and what we mentioned previously, his ability to receive long passes and then link with his teammates would be perfect, would be a real direct option, and for the long term would work out really well for Arsenal. I think that's the 3 things that they need to do in January, sorted with 1 signing. Also maybe 2. You think Edu's got to sign a new contract as the director of football, but then if you bring in 1 man, it's Sergio Milinkovic-Savic, completely change the squad and gets them a little bit closer to Manchester City, which is really, really the place that they want to be. So thanks for watching, guys. Get in the comments below, what do Arsenal need to do in January to be Premier League champions? I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time.